So this video is for the newer Jeep Cherokee. This is the K something, I forget what the heck they call it. This is the front wheel drive 4-cylinder. It is a 2015. It has an issue learning the throttle body. So here's the steps to take to be able to get this off. I don't know if there's any online or not, but this is the quickest and easiest way that I've found to get it off, and you can do it by yourself if you're even slightly mechanically inclined. So the first thing you want to do is remove the engine cover. This one didn't have one on it, although at one point it did. I don't know what happened to it. Disconnect your battery cable in the hot side. On the throttle body itself, you have a worm screw. It is a 7mm. On the other side over there, it is an 8mm or flathead. This one's also a flathead, but it's a little difficult to get a flathead in there. So I used the short extension. It's a 2-inch extension with a 7mm long socket and my electric ratchet, and I went straight through this hole here and was able to get back there to the worm screw and spin it off. This part is here. You have to disconnect the intake air temp sensor. And this should have a 10mm here in this hole that mounts back on the back side of the intake, or not the intake, but the valve cover here. That screw was not in there as well. I disconnected the I don't know if this is actually a mass airflow sensor. I'm sure it may be. I disconnected it thinking I was going to take the box out, but I didn't need to. So I'll go ahead and plug that back in now before that's something that I forget to put back in. Disconnect the PCV hose off of this side. Disconnect the PCV hose off of that side. And the two front screws on this throttle body are T30s. The two back screws are 10mm. This one you can use a short 10mm on. This one you have to use a deep 10mm on. You have to remove the nut first, and since you've removed this hose, you should be able to disconnect. I'm not sure if you can see that through the video or not, but there's a plastic connector there that connects to this hose. You disconnect it. Disconnect this connector here that sits on top of the stud. That way you can move the hose around. You're going to have to. There's a bracket that sits on top of this throttle body. I don't know why they decided to put brackets on everything on these things, but there's plenty holding that intake up. There's the bolts that hold the actual intake on, and there's brackets on the bottom of it. This is not heavy. So once you take this nut off here and get the rest of those off, you still can't remove the throttle body until you go down through here. It mounts in this hole here on the back side of the head. There's a 13mm bolt, maybe a M8 thread pattern. What did I do with it? Right here. This is the bolt for it, and that's the bracket for it. I used this extension to start with this short 13. This is maybe an inch at most. Broke it loose with that, and then I took the longer extension, which is all twisted up there, and put that same socket on and reached back behind here and spun this bolt completely out. Then you have the stud that holds the throttle body on. It's in here somewhere. Oh, here it is. This is the stud that goes into that corner there. Once you get this out, you can remove the throttle body and make sure to unplug it. It has a red connector on it as well. And Chrysler like to put these red connectors on everything for years, and some of them are a pain in the butt to get off, but regardless, the throttle body comes off very easy. Then the second issue is the gas pedal or accelerator pedal. It has a throttle position sensor on it, and it mounts right there on that pad. You can see two of the holes right here. You can see all three of them. One is above my finger there, one is there, and then one is there. This plug was harder to get out than the throttle pedal was to get out. I used a flathead screwdriver, got behind that red plug right there and slid it back towards the dash while holding the pedal. That way it didn't pull any of the wires, and it slid right off the end of it. Going back in is going to be easier because I'm going to lube it to be able to make sure it goes on easy. Those bolts are T27. I got a T25 in here as well, just in case I didn't bring the right one. But this is the bolts for it. They're about 1.25 inches long. Torx bolts. I used a 2-foot long extension, that way I didn't have to get up under there and fight to be able to reach anything. You can access it all from the outside here if you have long enough extension to get inside of there. Make sure you get yourself a light too, otherwise you're not going to be able to see anything. With the battery disconnected, you have no light. When all of this goes back together, the throttle body has to be relearned. The reason why I'm changing this actually is because I couldn't relearn the throttle body, although my scanner will allow me to do it. The previous time that I tried to do this, I had to track the throttle body in order to get it to actually function, but this time I tried it, it didn't do anything. Here's your throttle body, and it sits in here just like so. Make sure to change that gasket too while you're at it. This is your accelerator pedal. It goes in just like that. That's the mounting holes, and then that connector that goes on top. It's just chills in there. And if you need the part number on this, I'll get a quick video here. That's the factory part number. I don't think it's actually Mopar. I believe this is Fiat. This throttle body doesn't, oh yes it does. Let's see if I can get this in the video here. 048919-7BA, maybe B. That may be a DAB. I'm not entirely sure. It's worn off a little bit. Yeah, it's only been 20 minutes and I had it all apart. Of course, I've taken it apart multiple times because I've done multiple things to this thing. But this current issue is hopefully the last. I mean, I see another issue coming up soon, and that's going to be valve cover gasket, since it's got oil all over the front. And if I remember correctly, it said something about a misfire on cylinder 1 and a vacuum leak. So with that, I'll end the video. Thanks for watching, and please subscribe and share the video. Thanks.